Command & Conquer Rivals has been out for a while now, and I've previously shared my thoughts on the reveal, and now would like to share my thoughts on the actual gameplay. I've been playing the game for a while. I've played my way through the tutorial, as well as about 10 matches, and those matches went pretty well for me, all things considered. There's a couple of reasons for that. Now, the first thing I want to mention is that the community reaction is negative again. I think the amount of likes on the reveal trailer has been decreasing further and has dropped to, I think, 3% or so. So at least community reaction is further negative. The developers have called for everyone to give the game a fair shake, and so have some established YouTube Command & Conquer players, such as Brian Red Alert 2 Pro, as well as the General's Gentleman, both of whom said that they did enjoy the game and urged others to give it a shot, or at least give it a try. In my opinion, that doesn't really address the core issue, which is that people want a new full Command & Conquer PC game. The mobile game isn't the problem. The 4 other mobile games weren't the problem. The problem is the absence of the PC game. And even if this is a good mobile RTS, just theoretically speaking, or hypothetically, that's not the point. People are not interested in a good mobile game, and I don't believe this game is very good, and I'm going to share my thoughts on that now. And the first thing is that this is a capital M mobile game, and by that I don't just mean that it is a game on a mobile device. This game has all the trappings of a mobile game, which the previous Command & Conquer mobile games had not. They were more like handheld games, a fairly limited and essentially anemic version of the main releases, but they came out in a time where at least mobile games were not quite as exploitive. Exploitive games did exist back then as well, but the pay-to-win madness that we have now hadn't reached its peak back in the day, from what I recall. So this game here has everything. You've got a progression system. You do have your currencies. You've got gold coins, you've got diamonds, not blue tiberiums, just diamonds. You can use diamonds to purchase more coins. You use points to upgrades. The upgrades are very slow and incremental. You do need cards and or coins for the upgrades. So upgrading units doesn't do a whole lot. It seems to increase their attack bar by something like, or their stats overall by something like maybe 5%. So it's not exactly a game changer, but there's a lot of those upgrades. You can upgrade all units, I think, at least 10 times, something along those lines. So at the end, they will be significantly stronger, but there's a lot of essentially meaningless upgrades that do add to something meaningful if you get all of them, which is going to take quite a while. But this gives you the illusion of constant progress. And I guess there is some sort of progress all the time, even though it's very small and incremental. There's also a higher random factor. You do have those crates. You've got regular crates, you've got epic crates, you've got, I think, advanced crates, something in between. It doesn't really matter all that much. You do have a timer. You have this little lorry symbol at the bottom of your menu screen where you do get new crates, but you can speed it up by spending diamonds or getting fuel, and you get stuff for winning fuel. But if you play too many matches in the same day, you don't get any fuel anymore, so you can't just play 50 matches in a day and get all the crates. No, you have to play this regularly. So the game is designed in a way that you have to play it, if you want to rise to the top and get all the experience, you have to play it regularly, not just a lot, but regularly over a period of time. The game also hits all the impatience buttons, where you see that countdown. Oh, it's just 40 minutes more until you get your next crate. It does everything like that, and so it is a mobile game in that regard. It is more mobile than any Command & Conquer mobile game has been mobile before. Regarding the gameplay, we have seen it before. It's fairly anemic. I guess it is a real-time strategy in a certain sense that you do have the base, you do build it, it's not mobile in any way, and you just add buildings to it, you do control your units and stuff, but it is not a real Command & Conquer gameplay in the sense that you don't choose where to put your base. The strategic choice isn't there. You can't really expand. The buildings are very limited. You essentially have production facilities and then a tech building to advance these production facilities. You do have harvesting, but it's more of a monetary bonus. There's also not a whole lot of strategy to getting the harvester in my experience. There's almost no reason not to get it immediately. I saw a couple of people not getting it immediately. It doesn't really give you a real advantage, in my opinion, because the game has cooldowns. So you can only spit out so many units in so short an amount of time. So even if you have all the money in the world, you still need to wait until you can actually spend it, unless you build a lot of very expensive units. And that brings me to my next point. So there's a couple of reasons why I won all those matches, and one of the reasons is that the strategy is very limited, and in my opinion the best strategy is always to get a harvester, get the barracks, occupy at least one pad, and then fight for one of the remaining pads. And in my experience, most players go for the upper or lower pad depending on which one is a contested one, and you can essentially decide how the battle goes from there on. And another reason is that I drew a Titan card fairly early on. So the Titan is a 5th tier unit. You need a tax hunter to build it, which is somewhat expensive, but you can save up some money in between, because even if you build units regularly, if you place down your turrets, which does cost money as well, at one point you're not going to spend money quite as fast as you get it, especially if your harvester isn't threatened, which at the beginning of the match it usually isn't. And that allows you to build a Titan. The thing with the Titan is the Titan is almost indestructible. I guess not to really high tier players, but I got mostly matched with people that were on my level, a level above, or had some difference in experience. So I wouldn't play against someone who was really high ranked and had a lot of experience anyway. I guess maybe if there's absolutely nobody left, they do that, but for the time being there seem to be enough people around that they can always match you with someone who's approximately your level. Now the problem is that nobody else seemed to have this Titan card. At least I didn't see anyone build a Titan, because Titan is supposed to be quite a rare card. I think everybody who participates in the alpha is supposed to get it as well, but it doesn't really matter all that much. In any case, the only other high tier-ish unit I saw was, I think, the Zone Trooper. But the Zone Trooper is not quite as helpful as a Titan, in my opinion. So the thing with a Titan is it's very expensive, but it's a little more than twice the price of a Predator tank. So it is generally affordable. And the thing is, once you have a Titan and your enemy doesn't have anything, and none of my opponents had anything to counter the Titan, is that you just win. Because the Titan is almost indestructible. It has the hit points and or defense, depending on how it's calculated exactly, of several of the other units. And it's even good against units that are good against the Titan itself, such as the rocket launcher guys, because Titan doesn't deal that much damage to them, and they deal decent damage to it, but its health bar is so long. And it also lasts forever, so it allows you to throw other units in to its support. So these units don't seem to be balanced at all. The Titan isn't a slightly better Predator tank, it's way more powerful. But the point isn't really that the Titan is good or bad. The point is that I drew a random card, which allowed me to just win all the time. And there were a couple of players which I had the feeling were weaker than me. One player apparently gave up right at the beginning of the match, so I essentially played against nobody and got a free victory there. But for the most part, when the Titan was there, nobody could do anything against it. And that's not a good sign. So I might go up against someone at one point who draws an even better card. Maybe they have a Mammoth tank, and the Mammoth tank just steamrolls everything I have. But the point is that it's just luck-based. And even if you are matched against someone who's your level with regard to the actual in-game level as well as the stuff they have, then that's just a random draw. You shouldn't have to play against 8 or 9 people just to find someone who is actually equal to you, because some people had a higher level than me, but they only had the lousy Zone Troopers, and I had the Titan, so they were not really my level. So people who are your level are just people who have played approximately the same amount of matches than you have, and I suppose won them. That doesn't really mean that they are as good as you are, because that's determined by the selection of units you have, which you can customize, but there's only so much you can do. If you don't draw the good units, you don't have to draw you need to win the matches. And another thing is that at one point monetization is going to be enabled, so I don't think you can buy units directly. It appears that's my guess at the moment, that you can buy diamonds at one point, and the diamonds buy you everything else. They buy you money to level up your units, and they buy you crates, or accelerate the rate at which you get crates, to allow you to draw new units. I don't think you can buy them directly, probably because they want you to buy all those loot crates. So you only have a small chance to get them, and it's not guaranteed. So it is cheap, and it's also random and cheap. So if someone just says, oh, I'm just going to throw $20 at this game, or whatever stuff's going to cost, At one point he's going to draw better stuff, and then he's just going to win. And if you do that right at the beginning, I don't think your level actually increases, at least it doesn't as it is designed in the game now. So drawing a good card doesn't increase your level as such. You have to gain experience to do that, independently from what you actually have. If you decide to go into the battle with just basic riflemen, your level is still to be shown as equal or approximately equal to that of your opponent. So this is, again, a very mobile-ish mobile trade. Now this game is in its pre-alpha stage, but it's already completely designed around these mobile features, and I don't think they're going to fix them. So this game is not balanced, and by design it can't be balanced, because if you have this random factor, it's never going to be balanced. And it's not just that it's, oh, this player starts with 100 more credits. No, those are factors that can throw the game completely into one direction, into the favor of one player. If you draw this Titan card or whatever other equivalent you will have, there's still a strategic element, but for the most part the balance just completely out of the window, which in my opinion makes the fairly short matches even more frustrating, because since the matches are so short, you might reach a state where after 30 seconds or a minute it's already over. And that means you have no real time to recover. The maps are small. You can generally see everything. There's a little bit of fog of war, but it barely matters. And you can usually send one scouting unit in, and that gives you enough of an overview. But yeah, the short matches mean, at least in my opinion, that was my feeling, that it is actually more frustrating, because if the maps were larger, if you had to scroll and everything, you could probably build up some defense until the enemy throws units as you, maybe capture some additional resources and stuff, but none of that is here. What you see is what you get. It is so, because the game is fairly symmetrical for the time being, throwing any kind of imbalance in there just throws everything off the rail. And I don't see this being fixed unless they change the game completely. And that's why I don't think this is a particularly good Command & Conquer game. I don't think it's a particularly faithful iteration. It has a couple of superficial factors, like the MCV rolling in and deploying itself, which is nice, but it's just an animation. It doesn't really matter at all. And even with the general RTS gameplay, we've already demonstrated with Red Alert for iOS that this can be done better. So if they want to do a mostly classic RTS game on mobile, that would be possible, but I think that wasn't the goal here. The goal was to make a primarily like money generating capital M mobile game, and that's what we got. And I think we're going to be stuck with that for the foreseeable future. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Thanks for listening. If you would like to discuss the game further, feel free to let me know in the comments. If you play Rivals, make sure you draw a Titan, because Titans win battles. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.